Hello everyone, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the support I've had during this Pelotonia season. I'm a little sore today because I just finished my 50-mile bike ride yesterday and I did not prepare like I should have, so my body's feeling it. But the reason we're here today is that a lot of people are asking about the challenger part of my Pelotonia. So I'm a rider, but I'm also a challenger. And for the challenger portion of this, I have chosen this year to do the Shawnee Trail. So for some of you who don't know, I'm a backpacker and I love the backpack and I love equipment. And especially where I work, a lot of people are asking, what do you do out there? How do you live? How do you survive? And so today I thought a really cool thank you to everyone who's donating and supporting for me for this fight against cancer. I would go over in detail all the stuff I'm bringing with me to hopefully answer some of your questions. So let's go ahead and get started and take a look at what all I have to offer. All right, first up is my shelter. It's one of what backpackers call the big three. So for my shelter, I'm doing something a little different. Most people have tents. I found that hurts my back. I'm going on 40 years old, and I just can't do sleeping on the ground anymore. So I have a hammock. So for my hammock, I've gone with the local Hammock Gear 11-foot hammock, and this actually includes a bug net. The hammock here is 22.6 ounces. So it's a little bit heavier than your traditional tent, but I make up for that later in other things that happen to be a little lighter. So I love this thing. I've had it for 3 years and my back has never felt any better. The next thing that I do is also the local for hammock gear. This is made of Dyneema and this is my 11-foot tarp. This is in a snake skin, allows me to deploy this whenever I want. So if it's really nice outside, I don't have to deploy it at all. It can be set up and ready to go within a few minutes. But made of Dyneema, it's a material with a strength or the tensile strength of steel. And what this means is it's really strong and very light. So this, I'm going to refer to my notes again. This Dyneema tarp with doors is 11.8 ounces, and that includes this. So this is the rope that it's going to attach to. I just stick this between one tree and another using a couple bits of pre-made line. And I can move the tarp on the line wherever I want to, so it's very customized. So these get packed together. Next up is, looking at my notes, these are my tree straps, but they're by a man called Jeff Myers. Now he has his own YouTube channel and he creates these. These are 1-inch webbing by 15 feet long, and then it's got what's called a soft shackle on the end of it. So you'll notice there's no carabiners here. Everything is knots and soft shackles, so it makes it super light. And these are 4.2 ounces total. So that's 2.1 ounces per strap. And being that they're 30 feet, I can, and the hammock's 11 feet, that means I can get between two trees that are about 35 feet apart and still pitch comfortably. So what does that mean? That means a tenter has to find the perfect spot. So I don't ever have to worry about that in a hammock. All I need is two trees that don't have anything else in between them, anywhere between 15 to 35 feet apart. And I really love that. Next up for my shelter is stakes. So the stakes are strictly for the tarp. And my choice is sorry, they're a little dirty, is the MSR Mini Groundhogs. Now this is a staple in the backpacking world. These are a stake that are hard to fail. The only time I've seen one even bent is from a YouTuber who went on the Colorado Trail, and it's because he like hit a rock really hard with it. But these things have never failed me. They're absolutely beautiful. I used to use the Easton stakes. They're like a light blue peg, and those used to bend on me all the time. But these are super light, coming in at 2.2 ounces for 6 of them. Now I only need 4 for the shelter, the Dyneema tarp, but my hammock actually has a spot to splay out the hammock so that it doesn't make you feel like you're wrapped in a banana. And I go ahead and I use 2 stakes to splay that out so I could sleep a little more comfortably and not feel as claustrophobic. And so for 2 of these stakes, you could really call that a comfort item. They're not necessary. And then speaking of comfort item, I have the classic hang time. Now I believe Hammock Gear sells this. I don't know if Dutch Wear does, but what this does is my hammock has a ridge line inside of it. It's like a little piece of rope that goes from one end to the other, and it's really tight. And what this does is I slide the piece of rope in here, and then I turn it and I pull it down, and it just hangs there. So I can be laying like this, and I hit this little clip, and my phone goes in it, and it's perfectly angled so that I could watch TV, listen to music. My phone's always in one spot, and it is the definition of a comfort item, but it's also got all these things here, so I could wrap a cord around it and hang my charger. I could put my earphones, wrap those around there so that they're always in one spot. It's just a really good piece of gear for comfort when you're in your hammock. Love this thing. One question I always get asked is, what do you do for water out there? And the answer is you find it. So there's a couple things I'm doing differently. I usually use the Sawyer Squeeze. The Sawyer Squeeze, I usually pair that with a C-Knock bladder, and then you have to carry all the O-rings and the stuff that comes with it just to make sure that it doesn't fail or you don't lose something. What I'm trying this year is the Katadyn Be Free. So everybody's been getting on board with this relatively new piece of gear. It's been out for quite a few years now, and the problem is it flows water so well that I'm scared to use it. But I've witnessed a lot of people use it and then they've never gotten sick. So it's really important to filter water that you find from a stream, because you can wind up getting really sick, having bathroom problems, having stomach cramps. You don't want that on the trail. So the way this works is it comes with its own bladder, and this bladder you just dip into the creek or with flowing water, and you fill it up and you close it, and then you just treat it like a water bottle. You can drink straight from it, or I always carry one of these smart water bottles, and these things are really great because they cost like what, $1.80. My wife buys them in 12 packs because I use them so much. But you can, I usually thread like a nipple on top of here and I drink straight from it. But when I'm filtering and this is empty, I just squeeze this straight into the bottle and then I'm good to go. So this is something new I'm trying this year, is just one smart water bottle and the Katadyn Be Free. It saved me a lot of weight. This is 2.3 ounces, which is just slightly more than the Sawyer Squeeze, but it also means I don't have to carry the C-Knock bladder. So when all is said and done, I've actually dropped weight by using this. Not sure how I feel about it yet, and I haven't technically used it out in the field yet, but we're gonna go for it and see what happens. If I do run into problems, I can always filter my water in other ways and boil it, which will be something that I've done before and something that I'll probably do again. So that's my water. All right, next up is my Ditty Bag. The Ditty Bag is what backpackers call like their bag of stuff, the things that don't have a spot in their bag anywhere. So that usually goes in a waterproof bag, and here's what I have in mine. The first up is the KT tape. So this is for my knee, and it provides extra support because 2/3 of the cartilage in my right knee is gone, and so I get some lingering pain, and every once in a while when I'm going mostly downhill, I start to get some pain and I need a little extra support. This works better than any brace, both athletic and custom made, that I've ever tried. So KT tape is cheap, it's small, it's lightweight, and it's better than expensive braces. So KT tape, pretty awesome. The KT tape comes in at a whopping 0.4 ounces, so that's a way better than any brace. Next up is my repair kit. So this repair kit contains tenacious tape, alcohol wipes, and patches for all the various pieces of gear that I have. We're talking my tarp, we're talking my hammock, we're talking my rain gear, stuff like that. If there's ever a rip or a tear in any of that, I can usually repair it with the patch that is in here, using a combination of what's in here to get it fixed. And that comes in, referencing my sheet here, at a whopping 0.4 ounces as well. So next up, we'll talk about my Gerber knife. I normally don't carry a knife with me on trail and that tends to shock a lot of people. Like, Jonathan, you're an Eagle Scout. Jonathan, you're a scouter. You're such an outdoorsman. You don't carry a knife. When you're backpacking, don't think of it as much of a luxury camp out, and think of it more as an endurance sport. There isn't time to do a lot of things, and my gear is so specialized that I don't really need to cut anything most of the time. But I do carry a small one. This is about 1 inch, just in case I need it. You know, it's the, well, you know, maybe I should have one factor. You know, so I think I've used this once to cut cheese, and that's about it. So this is the small Gerber knife, and it comes in at a whopping 0.6 ounces. So it's very lightweight and very easy to handle. Next up is something that didn't even register on my scale. This is tape that I use for blisters, and I almost never get blisters, but I'll tell you one thing. The time of moleskin is over. Moleskin is, in my opinion, a dead technology. Instead, you use what's called Luco tape, and this stuff is really soft. It's almost rubbery, and you don't even have to cut a hole in it. So if you're starting to get a blister or a hot spot, you just slap a little bit of this on there, straight on the spot. It's waterproof up to like 2 or 3 days. So it stays stuck even on sweat or river crossings. And what I did is I just cut a piece of straw and I just put a little bit on here. A normal roll of it at Kroger you could buy is like this wide. It's pretty big, and it only costs like $2. So moleskin's heavier, it's less pliable, it doesn't stick very well. And you got to cut it, and I don't know if you ever tried to cut moleskin, but it's awful. So tenacious tape came in at like nothing, not even a full ½ ounce. So I'm sure if I was measuring in grams, this would pop up something, but I'm not even going to worry about it. Next up is the Unwind Cork Massage Ball at 1.6 ounces. So this is another luxury item. I have it listed in my Ditty Bag on Lighter Pack because it's a luxury item, but I can't imagine my life on trail without it. So if any of you know me, I'll go 15 miles in one day, and that's a lot, especially if there's a lot of ups and downs. And your feet hurt right when you're done. And what this does is you put this against your foot and you just do this, and it gets all those knots out, and it just feels amazing. You know, being that it's 1.6 ounces, and being how light it is, it's an amazing piece of gear. And made of cork, you don't have to worry about getting wet or anything like that. It's just an amazing piece of gear. And even though it's pretty big, even though it's a luxury item, I will not leave home without it. Next up is my headphones. They're 0.6 pounds. I don't really talk much about these because I just found them. They're just a pair of cheapos. But it's a USB-C, so it attaches to my phone. I was taking a rechargeable headphone that's wireless, so everybody who's watching this that knows me from work has seen it. It's the AeroShocks bone-in headphones. And I love those, but I use them so much that the batteries kind of died out, and I don't want to have to worry about charging things when I want to listen to something. Sometimes when you're walking for a very long, extensive amount of time, say you're on day 4, you're not running into any people, your mind can start to wander. So sometimes it's good to shut off and just listen to some music. So with these 0.6 ounces, don't have to worry about charging them. It's a no-brainer to me. So next up is my Anker 10,000 amp battery bank. And what this thing does is it'll give me up to 3 chargers on my phone. I don't always take this, and I was debating on whether to take it on the Shawnee Trail, but I decided while it is one of the heavier things coming in at 7.4 ounces, I like the peace of mind of knowing that I can charge it, charge my phone a couple times. So I'm going to go ahead and take this. I am looking to upgrade to a lighter version. I like the Nitecore 10K amp that came out. It's a little bit lighter and then made of carbon fiber. But I've been getting mixed reviews of that online, and so I thought I'm going to wait out the storm and see if Nitecore can level that out before I make the purchase and make it a little better. So for now, I'm just sticking with this, mostly just because I have it. And then I've got some cords. I'm going to be ordering something that will count as all 3 of these soon. That'll be lighter, but for now it's just 3 cords. It's USB-C to micro, because I do have a couple of things that are micro to charge, and then I have a USB-C to USB-C and a USB-C to USB-A. And these things will allow me to charge my Anker battery bank. It'll allow me to charge my phone. I can charge my phone in a charger or charge my phone in the battery bank, you know, vice versa. So these 3 cords tend to give me everything I need. And those cords come in at 1.6 ounces for all of them. Just a couple more things about the Ditty Bag itself. Is made of Dyneema. It is 0.5 ounces. I got this, I forgot the company that made this, but I got this thing on Garage Grown Gear. So if you're looking to get in the ultralight community and start lightening up your backpacking gear, go Garage Grown Gear. They're an amazing company, and I think I bought 2 of these. My wife has one and I have one. Last thing is some of these things don't actually stay in my Ditty Bag. They go into my food bag at night. But I got a kid's bamboo toothbrush. This is a change from my normal stuff, because I normally carried the Garage Grown Gear toothbrush, and it's really tiny, but I'd have to almost put my fingers in my mouth, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't think it was hygienic. So I got a toothbrush, and I'm also carrying toothpaste tabs. So this way I don't carry a big heavy load of toothpaste. I can just count how many tablets I need for each day and pop one in my mouth, chew it for a little bit, and then just start brushing my teeth. So that's what I do for brushing my teeth. I have a little bit of camp soap. It's only like half full in this container. I'm going to see if I can get a smaller container in the future, but for now it's a little bit of biodegradable camp soap. I have my buff that I can use as a washcloth, which you'll see here later, that if I need to use it, I can. And then I have foot butter, which is a combination of, essentially it's Vaseline with a little bit like Neosporin in it. So if your feet are feeling achy or starting to crack, you can put a little bit of this on there. I almost never use it, but it's better to carry it and be safe than sorry. That entire hygiene kit comes to 1.2 ounces. And that's my Ditty Bag. Stick this right there. There we go. All right, up next, let's talk about doing the biz, getting your business done out on the trail. So normally, like when I hike the Appalachian Trail, they have moldering privies, so you don't really need to worry too much about this. But it's a question I get a lot from people who don't backpack, is how do you use the bathroom if there's no toilets around? Well, for that, we have the Deuce number 2, ultralight trowel. This thing allows me to dig what's called a cat hole, which is a 6 to 8 inch deep hole that's roughly that long. Then you do your business in there, and then you cover it back up. So this thing allows me to dig and get in there and get enough of a hole dug. And what I've done is I've put some duct tape on the side so it doesn't like cut into my hand. It weighs 0.6 ounces, and it does what it says it's gonna do. I believe this is titanium, so it's like super ultra light. I can bend it a little bit if I need to into the shape I want. It's got these little grooves so I can cut through branches and twigs and stuff. I hear a lot of people, especially on YouTube, complain about this doesn't work very well, but it's always been fine for me. I imagine if I was going to places like California or Colorado where it gets a little rocky, this might be a problem, but for where I hike and backpack, it's not a problem at all. And then I have some toilet paper. I never take a full roll, I just take a little bit. And then some dude wipes. Sometimes I'll take a big pack and then I'll put some into a Ziploc bag. But I found these individuals that make it a little easier to distribute. I even carry a couple of these in my everyday. But all of that comes out at 1.8 ounces. So the toilet paper and the dew wipes, 1.6 ounces. And I just keep them in a Ziploc bag. I think I've used this same Ziploc bag for like 3 years, and somehow it's still waterproof. So I'm just going to keep going with it. So, and that is what I call my poop kit. Next, let's talk about a couple things that I keep in my hip pockets. I used to carry a fanny pack, and because the pack that I was using didn't have hip belts, but the new pack that I have does have hip belts and therefore hip pockets. So I need to make sure I'm not calling these my fanny pack items. These are my hip belt items, and the first up is the Nikkor NU25. And this is my headlamp of choice. It's the micro USB charger, which I hate that. I love this model. They came out with a newer model that has USB-C, but it's heavier and bulkier, so I don't want it. So I'm stuck with that one cable. You'll notice I took the normal strap off, and I made my own strap. I actually made this custom, and this keeps it on my head pretty good. And it's got 3 different style lights, plus red light, plus blinking red light. So I even take this when I go cycling, and I'll put that on the red strobe so that it would be very visible. It's super light, coming in at 1.1 ounces. So this is all the light that I need. I also used to carry like a lamp that I would have hanging in my hammock, but I found I never used it. So why carry it if I don't use it? This is perfect. Never had to charge this while I was on the trail. I was once on the trail for 8 days, and I never had to charge this. It was pretty amazing. So that's my headlamp. In my opinion, when you're in the backcountry, Ben's 100 DEET is the only thing that you need. Everything else fails me. So get this. Like, if I could, like, if Ben's could sponsor me, I'd love that. So I absolutely love Ben's. This 100 DEET, I always spray a little bit of this on my ankles and my shoes, and just a little bit on my hat, and I've never ever had ticks, not once. So this stuff is amazing. I've even bought 2 of the larger bottles. Like, I can't get it in bulk. It's like impossible to find that in bulk. If you can, if you know how to get in bulk, call me, let me know. But for now, I refill this tiny bottle, and this one little bottle will last me like 5 or 6 trips. This stuff is amazing. It's 1.3 ounces. And then I have the Ben's head net. So the Ben's head net, it goes over my hat, and then the brim of my hat keeps it from going on my face. It actually has a bit of DEET on it, and I think a permethrin treatment So it repels insects as well as keeping them off my face. I normally don't carry this, especially on the Appalachian Trail. The parts of the Appalachian Trail I go to, they tend to be in higher elevation. There isn't as much insects. But for the Shawnee Trail, it's going to be wet. There's going to be still water everywhere. So I'm bringing that again for this. This is 0.6 ounces. So there's no reason not to have it. And then I have my first aid kit. It's got lip balm, it's got an extra lighter for my cook kit, it's got a tick key, it's got a needle and some thread in case I need to repair something and a patch isn't going to do it. It's got gauze pads, it's got medicine, vitamin I, which is ibuprofen, it's got Tums, it's got anti-diarrhea. It's got vitamins if I'm finding that I'm not eating like I should and I need that extra vitamin boost. I mean, everything I need is in here. Band-Aids, you name it. I even have a pencil in here so I can write things down. If I'm hurt and I need to write down what happened to me, I can do that. I learned that from scouting. So first aid kit, it's in a Dyneema pet pack, which I also got on Garage Grown Gear, and it just makes it super light. Okay, this thing comes in at 2.2 ounces, so a little bit of safety. Now, some people on here aren't backpackers. They're gonna be like, Jonathan, this isn't enough. Well, you're right, but I'm never camping too far away from help, so this will fix all the little boo-boos. If there's a big boo-boo, I'll call for help, I promise. And then the last thing that I carry is my phone. A lot of people don't think about their phone when they're going out, but it's heavy and it's a crucial piece of gear. I will film things on here. I'll take pictures on here. I will record every night when I'm in my hammock and things have died down. I'll record what happened to me that day, sort of like a diary just for me that I could go back and listen to. I love this phone. It provides me entertainment. It has all my audiobooks, and I'm rolling with the Galaxy S22 Ultra. It's 9.9 ounces with the case. What I love about this is it's got a stylus pen down here, and I could set up my phone like this, and I could walk away and I can hit a button and it'll start recording or start taking a picture. So I can actually set up to record myself. Not that I do it very often, but if I feel like I want to record something, I have a remote control to start and stop photos and video. So that's one of the reasons why I picked this. And I got that from another not an ultralighter, but another YouTuber that hikes called Taylor, or the New Hampshire Girl. So if any of you are familiar with her, she's the reason I bought this phone. So. All right, so what about food? What do I do for food? Well, I have this cook kit, and I mostly have rehydrated meals, which means all I really need to do is boil 1 to 2 cups of water. And so what I have here is a system in order to do that. So the first thing I have is this Toke 650 milliliter pot, and it also acts as a cup. So it's got handles and it's got a lid, and it's made of titanium. And this is 2.4 ounces, and this is with this little koozie. Now this is a Reflectix koozie, so it's made of a Reflectix material. And what that does is, after I have my water boiled, if I'm using that water for, say, coffee, well, titanium doesn't retain heat very well. So what I do is I slide it in this custom-made koozie and keeps it warmer longer. It also allows me to be able to hold the pot by the pot instead of by the handles, and without burning my fingers. So this Reflectix koozie just keeps things warmer for longer. And then of course we have the lid. The lid has 3 holes, so I could treat it as a pour spout if I wanted to. I oftentimes don't even use the lid, so the only reason I really carry it around is it just keeps everything contained. So that's my lid. I'm going to put that back out here. The next up is I use an isobutane stove, so I have isobutane fuel here. I never carry a fuel container larger than this one, because normally for like a weekend warrior, you're going out there for 2 or 3 days, you don't need anything more than this. Plus, this fits perfectly in my pot. So that's my canister. And then attaching to the top of that canister like a screw is this BRS titanium stove. So if I pull all of these out and I lock them into place, what I have is a cook pot surface where you set the pot on, and you screw this into the isobutane stove, and then when you turn this dial, you feel a little hiss, and then I use this Bic mini lighter to light it, and then it sets on fire, and I could cook my water or boil my water or whatever I want, coffee, whatnot. This is 0.9 ounces, so it's a 0.9 ounce stove. I will warn you that this thing has gone kaput on me before. This is actually my second one. So I'm kind of playing with fire on using it again, but I feel like the first time it broke, it was a fluke, because everybody who's used one of these has just raved about it and never had an issue with it. So that and the Bic lighter, I usually wrap that in this microfiber cloth, and I use this to clean out the pot, and then I'll use a little bit of my camp soap sometimes to well, clean the cloth itself, but also to clean the pot and myself as well. But I'll roll these in here just to prevent it from making a clanking sound, because you don't want to be walking and then having a clanking sound. And then those just go right in there, and then the pot goes right on top, and then you have a contained system called your cook kit. And I also have another Dyneema case for it. So this is just a bag with a little pull tab, and all my stuff is right here, and it's all self-contained. So that's my cook kit. Also made out of Reflectix, same as the koozie, is this little guy. I made this, and this is just a big pouch that can sit down flat, and I will put all of my Mountain House meals in there once it's boiling in water. And what that does is it keeps all the heat inside and treats it like an oven. And I got one roll of Reflectix, I think, for like 12 bucks once, and so I still have a ton of this stuff. And I've seen koozies like this sell on sites for like 35 bucks. So just make your own. I just used a little bit of duct tape, like that metallic duct tape, and put that on the sides here. And I mean, it's super easy and quick to make. And then it weighs 1.2 ounces. Super lightweight. So next up is this titanium spoon from Tokes. It weighs 0.5 ounces. It's an upgrade from my last one in that instead of having this titanium finish throughout, it has a polished bowl. That allows me to clean it up a little bit better. I highly recommend, because it's the same price as the normal titanium spoon, if you're going to get one with the polished bowl. But what this has is a very long handle, so I can eat a Mountain House meal and not have to put my hand in that big bag. So 0.5 ounces. I love this thing. I've had it for a while now. Oh no, well no, I've had the other one for a while now, and I just upgraded the polished one. Probably used this thing once so far, but I love it. Alright, so to protect everything at night, I use this giant bear bag, and this bear bag is made of Dyneema, and this contains all of my smellables, including my clean kit and my cook kit, and anything that gives off a smell that isn't natural. It all goes into here, and then I roll it shut, and I clip it, and then there's a spot here for rope, and what I do is I use this bear bag kit. So this is a rock sack, and inside of this rock sack is 50 feet of Dyneema cord along with a tiny carabiner, and I will fill this pack or this bag with a rock so that it's heavy, and then I'll attach the end of it to the rope, and I will throw this 50 feet of cord over a giant tree, and then I'll attach the other end here, and I'll use as a fulcrum point. I'll pull the bag up so it's floating up off of the ground out of reach of the bears, and I use that using the PC hang, and it's a little complicated to explain, but essentially what it does is it keeps my food safe from bears. And you always do this far away from where you're sleeping or where anyone else is sleeping, and you always do it downwind of where you are. That way when the bears smell the food, they don't then smell you. So you can keep everything separate. So that is my cook kit. So what about rain? Well, when you are backpacking, when it rains, you're gonna get wet. You just live with that. I don't do a whole lot with the rain, but in this case, in case it does rain, I will take these 3 items, and they all double as other things. So the first thing I'm going to take is my Outdoor Research helium gloves, but I'm only taking the liners that came with them. So these are rain liners. They also come with the actual gloves, which these fit over, but in the case of leaving September 1st for my trip, it's not going to be cold enough for me to take gloves. So I'm just going to take the rain gloves, and that'll keep my hands warm if everything's wet. I don't like to have cold hands. Next up is my raincoat, which, you know, everybody has these expensive Z-Packs raincoats or rain jackets, or the Outdoor Research jacket, or one of the other really expensive ones that are super ultra light. This is comparable to that, and this is just the cheap one that you get at Walmart. These are the Frog Togs top. It's the ultra light version. It comes with the pants for 20 bucks. I have used this exact same one for 3 years, and it doesn't have a single hole in it anywhere. The downside to these is they can rip. They can rip very easily, but I tend to be cognizant of that when I'm wearing it, and I don't bushwhack. I don't go through brush or anything like that when I'm wearing it. I usually just stay on main trails, so this works just fine, and it also doubles as an extra layer of insulation if it's really windy. So these are the Frog Togs ultra light version, and they come in at a whopping 5.9 ounces. So if you compare that with some of the brands that cost $3.50 for a jacket, it's on par. It's maybe a couple ounces heavier than that. The rain gloves are 0.7 ounces. And then here's a more expensive weight-wise option. These are the REI rain pants. They come in at 7.7 ounces, and that's really heavy for somebody who's really focused on having an ultralight setup, but I find these are worth it because the only thing I wear is a light pair of shorts. So not only are these rain pants, but when it gets cold outside, I'll use these as my main pants. I'll just wear them around if it's cold outside. And I did that this year when I was on Pikes Peak in Colorado. It worked perfectly fine. It's got a spot at the bottom for boot zippers, so I could take them on and take them off without putting my shoes and my socks off or on, or without taking them off. There's a pocket for it. It's got a little bit of a tear in the butt from when I was sliding down the side of a mountain once, but I just put a little patch of tape on there, and it's working just fine. It's still sealed watertight. I was walking in a downpour in these, and they work just fine. I think I got these on clearance for 50 bucks at REI one time. So if you got an REI co-op membership and you go in there and get these rain pants, they're a little bulky, they're a little heavy, but for backpacking they work just fine. And that's it. I do have a pair of shoes that I'll be showing later on in this video. Those will get wet when it rains, and you just suck it up, but they dry out pretty fast. All right, next up, we're going to talk comfort. And when we talk about comfort, these are things that I don't necessarily need to bring, but things that I've decided to bring. So my first up is the Emoji Garden Clogs. So I discovered these from another backpacker who was doing the American Discovery Trail. And these come in at a whopping 8.2 ounces, but they're waterproof. I can use them at rain crossings. They have little dimples in the bottom so that when I'm walking around in camp at the end of the day, I just get kind of like a massage. And they're just amazing. The only problem with these is that they're really bulky. I've tried all kinds of stuff. Like I bought an ultralight sandal. I've bought a slipper that's meant to solve this problem and replace these. The thing is, like, they're not comfortable when your feet are wet. So they don't work really well for around camp, in my opinion. Like a camp shoe is a luxury item, and so when you're wearing it, if you're gonna spend the pounds for it or the ounces for it, you want something that'll work for every occasion. And it has not, for me, it has not gotten any better than these. And they were like 18 bucks, so that's a big plus. All right, so next up is my camp pillow. I think I had to pause the video and figure out what the weight on this was, because at one point, I think yesterday, I decided not to take it. Being in a hammock, you almost don't need a pillow, but this weighs 1.6 ounces with the buff on it. So what this is basically is a plastic bladder, and then I put my buff, which I normally have attached to the side of my pocket, as I walk to like wipe my face off or whatnot. But at the end of the day, I put this little sky pillow in there, and at 1.6 ounces, I have a really comfortable pillow. It doesn't look comfortable, but I got used to it real fast. Being in a hammock, again, I almost don't need it. I will deflate this by like half of the air, and just have something to cradle my head as I sleep. And again, that's just a comfort item. Not necessary, just something I like. All right, next up is another comfort item. It's my ThermoWest Z seat. A lot of people refer to this as the butt pad, which is why it's listed on here as butt pad. And this weighs a whopping 2 ounces, and it usually stays on the outside of my pack. And it just allows me to have a place to sit. If it's cold outside, this provides heat, so someplace warm to sit on. It's very cushiony. It doesn't look like much, but it's really good. And then if it's really a burning hot spot, I set this down, and again, my butt doesn't burn. So I mean, what can I say? It's a sit pad. At night, I lay this out underneath my hammock, and it becomes sort of like a welcome mat. So that when I get up in the morning and I haven't put my shoes on, I lean out and my feet aren't touching the dirt. You know, they're touching something comfortable. So just another comfort item that I like to take. The other thing that I like to take is my trekking poles. These are expensive when it comes to weight. These are a little over 16 ounces. Now, these are by Cascade Mountain Tech, and a lot of people know these as the Costco trekking poles. And the reason why I like these so much is because they are carbon fiber, they're comfortable, and they haven't failed me. I just love them so much. They're telescopic, so you pull this little tab and they come out and you can position them wherever you want. I use these again because I have that cartilage problem in my knee, and these help me on downs. So when I'm going down the side of a mountain, my knee starts to really hurt me. These things have helped catch falls. I'm pretty sure if I didn't have these, I would have fallen and cracked my head open at one point. I can remember at least 2 occasions where these things have saved me from really absolutely hideous spill. So when I'm in camp, these things will, when it's nice out, I put my tarp in porch mode, which means these get used as stands to keep one side of my tarp up so that I have shade, but I can relax underneath it before bed. And I tend to love these very much. I could go lighter. I could spend a lot of money on like a Z-Pax one. But I actually find that with trekking poles, lighter isn't necessarily better. You want something sturdy, something that'll protect you when you're out there. So those are my comfort items. Next up is what I'm wearing out there. Nothing special except for the feet, so we're just going to go over each item. And if you have any questions, put it in the comments below. First up is the Lone Peak 4 trail runners. So I don't carry boots, I carry trail runners, and I just find they're lighter, they're easy to dry. So I have these fit inside insoles, and what these do is they allow my feet to stay comfortable. I tend to find that boots are just heavy and they cause all kinds of bruises, and they cause a lot of blisters if they're not worn in well. And for what I'm doing and how fast I'm going, boots just tend to slow me down. So these things have a rock plate in them. They are very super grippy in the bottom. And actually, I'll show you. They got a really cool tread pad here, which is pretty iconic for ultras. And then these things also have a spot for my gaiters. And the best thing about these is if I wanted to cross a creek in them, they'll be dry in about 5 minutes, which is really, really good. They got spots on the side for them to leak, right? So when they're wet, the moisture leaves the shoe as you walk. With a boot, the moment water gets in them, it can take 2-3 days for them to dry. Then you have to hope that it's sunny and warm in order to get them to dry. If you think about it, how many people have those boot heaters, you know, that dry out boots? Well, those exist because once they're wet on the inside, they're impossible to get dry. I don't have that luxury out there. So what I take is the Lone Peak Ultras, and those come in at 24.5 ounces as worn weight, not base weight. I pair those up with these Injinji toe liner socks. What these do is these take moisture and they wick it away from your foot. And the fact that there's individual toes prevents any time of rubbing, which creates hot spots, which is the precursor to a blister. So I always wear these, and then on top of them, I wear these Darn Tough socks. So Darn Tough is an all wool sock, and you want wool because wool, when it's wet, stays warm. Cotton, when it gets wet, it gets cold and it becomes useless. The wool socks are amazing. Darn Tough has a lifetime warranty, and I literally mean lifetime. This single pair of sock will last me my entire life, and if it doesn't, they will replace it, no questions asked. In fact, when I was at Trail Days in Damascus, Virginia, Darn Tough was there with a sock exchange station for all through hikers, so they could come and they could bring in their socks that had a problem, and no questions asked. They took the sock, put it into a trash bag, and they gave them a fresh new pair. That's customer service. I have not had to replace mine yet, and I've been backpacking as an adult here for Joe, 5 years now? When did you and I go to?
It's like 3 years ago.
3 years? So about 4 years that I've owned Darn Toughs, and I own 2 pairs, and they're in great condition except for a little bit of fluff here in the ankle. So these will probably go here in a couple of years, and I'll get them replaced via mail for free. Next up are my gaiters. So these are the ultra running gaiters, and they attach to this little spot right here on the front of my shoe, and then there's a spot on the back of the shoe with Velcro, and here's the Velcro and here's the hook, and these just keep dirt and sand and pebbles and pieces of wood out of my ankles and away from my shoe. So I know a lot of people, when they hike, they stop and they're like, ooh, something's stabbing my ankle, and they have to go in and they gotta fix that. Those prevent that, and they weigh like nothing. In fact, I'm not even sure. Oh, I do have my gaiters. They're 1.1 ounces for the pair of them. Next up, everything's getting dirty because of the shoes. But I take a 32-degree cool shirt. These are a cheap packet of shirts that you can get at Costco. They're almost see-through, and they're super lightweight. Sorry, they're super lightweight, and they dry in seconds. Like I've dunked myself in water in that and come out dry in less than 5 minutes. And then if it starts to get a little colder or I'm going through a lot of sun, I have this bay leaf sun hoodie. I don't have the weight on it, but it's worn weight. It's super lightweight. It whisks moisture away. It has a hood. It's got a spot for your thumb in the sleeve, and the sleeve comes down to my fingers, so it'll cover most of my hand as well. And what that does is it keeps me protected from the sun. They come in all kinds of colors. I chose black because when I'm using it, I tend to be cold anyway. So I choose a dark color, that way it gets warmer faster. But if you're using this strictly for sun and not just an additional layer like I do, you can get in like bright yellow or a lighter color. And you can wear them in a sun field and not get burnt. I believe this one's SPF 30. You could splurge and get something with a little bit more, but I don't have a problem with that. And where I hike, there isn't a whole lot of sun exposure. For underwear, this is just a cheap pair that I got at Walmart a long time ago. I no longer shop at Walmart for political reasons, but these are just a cheap pair of like moisture wicking underwear. People will tell you you need to buy like the high performance. You don't. I just get a pair of underwear that is moisture wicking. And then I have a pair of Under Armour shorts. These are specifically made for jogging, and they came with a liner, but I decided that I liked underwear better, so I cut the liner out. But I've been using these forever now, and I don't think I'm going to get another pair. For this trip, I'm not taking any extra clothes other than an extra pair of sock and liner. Normally on like an 8-day trip, I'll have extra pairs of underwear, maybe one extra pair of short, maybe one extra shirt. But for where I'm going, I don't see a problem wearing what I'm wearing. It's pretty typical in the backpacking community to wear a pair of clothes for a couple days on end. When you're out there, you're going to stink. You just deal with it. I have cleaned some of my clothes in a creek with a little bit of that soap that I showed you earlier. And with all of these, everything here dries real fast. So if something starts to stink, I can wash it, be good to go within an hour. So, all right, next up is my top quilt. So this is one of your big three. This top quilt tends to be what creates a lot of the weight. This is one of those things where the more money you spend, the lower you can get the base weight down. But at some point, there's that ratio, right, Joe, of spending too much money versus the weight. So what I have here is Outdoor Vitals Storm Loft. It's lost a lot of its loft in the foot box. So you can tell here it's not as lofty down there. But what this is a top quilt, and I don't know if a lot of you know what a top quilt is, but it's basically a sleeping bag where the back is missing. So the foot box is sewn in, so it keeps your feet nice and warm. And then in a hammock, this just splays out in front of you, which is perfect for a hammock because especially when you're using down, meaning like actual feather. This is real down. When it's compressed, it's useless. So it needs to be poofy. It needs the loft. So what's on your back is not working anyway. So it's just weight that you don't need. So this is currently 18.2 ounces. All right, next up is my Outdoor Vitals booties. I don't exactly remember what they call them. I just call them booties. And this is also down. It's made of the exact same material as my quilt. And I bought these to solve the problem of my quilt not having that down in the toe box. Somehow one of the seams or something came loose, and all of the loft just went up into the next baffle. So these keep my feet nice and warm. It's got a little bit of stretchy over the top, and I just slide my feet in there, and putting my hand in here even for a moment, it's starting to feel really warm. So these you of course only wear when you're sleeping. I wouldn't walk around in these, but they are really comfortable. I got these in the size large, and then I made a joke on Facebook that they gave me 2 left feet. But these are a great piece of comfort gear, especially if you're a cold sleeper like me. All right, next up is my underquilt. So a lot of people that hammock, they don't think about what's underneath them. When you're suspended in the air and sleeping, air comes through. Even if you have like a tarp or something over top of you that's lower than you are, air just gets underneath you and it zaps all of the comfort and all of the body heat off of you, and then you wind up cold even though you got a really comfortable top quilt. So this is what's called an underquilt, and it comes with straps and all kinds of carabiners and stuff that attach to your hammock. So what this actually does is, you're looking at the bottom, it hangs over top of you like this. You're cradled in between it, and so this is basically a quilt for underneath you, and this will keep you really comfortable. This is also from Hammock Gear. It's a 30 degree. I forgot to state that my top quilt is also a 30 degree, but that means it's rated for up to 30 degrees outside temperature while remaining comfortable. Not surviving, but actual comfort rating. This is also natural down material, so it's very warm, very comfortable, and I take this with me. This is a lot of the bulk. It has a base weight cost for sure. It's probably the most expensive thing I have as far as weight, and that's 21.59 ounces. And if you do the math, that is the most heavy thing that I have, but I find it's worth it for a good night's sleep. And that right there, everyone, is the downside of using a hammock, is that it's not, when you tent, you basically need a pad and a sleeping bag, and that's it. But when you hammock, you need an underquilt, you need a top quilt, you need the straps, you need the tarp, you need the hammock itself. And so that comfort cost comes, or that comfort rating of sleeping in a hammock comes at the cost of weight. And this is the next thing to get upgraded. I love this thing from Hammock Gear. Hammock Gear is a local company in Reynoldsburg, Ohio. They do great work there, but this is the heaviest item I have. And so to drop weight next time, I'm gonna be dropping some serious cash to get something about half as light as this. But I love this thing, and that concludes all the equipment that I take with me when I go backpacking. The only thing we haven't discussed is the bag, which is coming up next. So give me a few minutes, let me pack up all of this gear into my bag, and then we'll take a look at the bag itself. All right, so now that you've seen all of my equipment, let's see what it looks like in my brand new backpack. So because I am going with a hammock, and because the hammock requires all those accessories, including the underquilt, I had to go with something a little larger. I used to be carrying the Z-Pack's Nero, which is a 38-liter pack. But as you can see, that is not what is in front of you. What is in front of you is the Arc Haul Ultra 50-liter. And what that is it's a brand new backpack made of the Ultra material, which is supposedly replacing Dyneema. So I know very little about it, but I just went ahead and just randomly chose it. It's got a feel similar to Dyneema, but it's just a little bit softer. It feels a little bit more like a cloth. The features of this pack are grand in scale compared to what the Nero had. So this is the Arc Haul, and it's called the Arc because on the side here it arcs and it keeps all of the weight off of my back, which is something that I had a problem with. Being that I carry such a lightweight pack, There's no problem with my shoulders, there's no problem with my hips, but there is a problem with heat on my back, and it would make me sweat, and that sweat goes someplace, you know where, and where that goes creates chafing. So I needed something that would take the weight literally off of my back. So this is the Arc Haul, and as you can see, there's space here between the bulk of my gear and where my back rests. As you can see on the front, it has a mesh pocket. This is made of Dyneema. I forget what they call this mesh, but it's a giant pocket. If say my tarp was wet, I could stuff my entire tarp in here until it dries, and before I put it back in the cavity of the bag. The bag itself is a 45-liter cavity, so there are no inside pockets. It's just one giant pocket, and all of my stuff fits in there, layered first at the bottom with all of my smushy stuff that needs to stay dry, in a compactor trash bag for added waterproofing. And then on the top, to add to the waterproofing, I keep my sit pad or my butt pad up here, so if it does rain, all of that water just cascades off and down at an angle away from my neck and off the back. There are two side pockets. I'm keeping my water bottle on one side and my trekking poles when I'm not using them on the other side. And then on the back, I am now living in luxury because I'm no longer carrying my fanny pack. I have hip pockets and a hip belt. So being that this pack weighs probably 13 pounds right now tops, we're gonna double check that here in a minute. I would say I don't need this, and I can remove it if I want to, but because this has that arc, you want that support at the base of the tip of where that arc is. So I'm going to go ahead and leave those on. And I took this thing for the first time, if you can't tell it's a little dirty, onto the Colorado Pikes Peak Trail. It's called Bar Trail, with my Boy Scout troop. And I'll tell you what, I didn't feel like I was carrying anything on my back. Like, it is really comfortable. I have a spot here for my phone. I have a spot here for a smaller water bottle, which I usually carry. I don't have one on me. It's a smart water bottle, but it's the smaller one, and I'll usually have that sitting right in there. So it's easily accessible without removing my pack. And then all of the small items that I told you about, which are my knife, my first aid kit, my bug net, my DEET, all that stuff's right here. And then this spot is empty and is room for snacks. So Cliff Bars, energy chews, just whatever I want to carry. You'll notice on the front of my pack in this mesh, I'm going to try carrying my Catadine B3 here. Again, I say try because I don't know where that belongs yet. It's a brand new piece of equipment. Also, I have my stakes here since they tend to be really dirty. I don't want them in the cavity with all the rest of my stuff. And then my poop kit, because you need easy and quick access to that. One other feature of this pack is that it's got tie outs here on the bottom. So if I needed to strap something extra to this, I could strap something long like an extra sleep pad, or some extra poles for someone's tent, or a spare tent if I needed to, just anything that rolls up. I've seen people take jackets and roll them up, put them in here and strap them down. I can also use these and twist them and put my trekking poles in them and tighten it, and I keep my trekking poles here with a loop, but I don't worry about that. I just put it in the side pocket, but that is an option if I needed to. I also took I had on a custom thing of what do you call it, bungee cord, and I had bungee cord going across in an X pattern, so 2 X's here with a pulley, but I realized that I never use it, so I took it back off. That did not come with the pack, but it's just something I tried and turned out it was too extra for me. So that is the Z-Packs Arc Haul 50-liter Ultra. Ultra meaning the ultra material. So so far been on one trip with it and I love it. The last thing I want to talk about is my hat or hats. So I haven't quite determined which hat I'm bringing on the Shawnee Trail yet. Normally, see if that falls. Normally, I will take my Kavu hat, which is, if I look at my thing here. Oh, I forgot to tell you, the weight of that backpack is 28.22 ounces. So my last pack, I think, was 12 or 13 ounces. So I've almost doubled for the comfort of having something off of my back, which is something that I just decided to do. All right, so for my hats, I haven't quite determined which hat I'm going to take. I normally wear this Kaivo Chilba hat at 5 ounces, and I haven't quite determined whether that's going to be what I use at Shawnee, because Shawnee is going to be very insect heavy, and my bug net is going to require a traditional ball cap style hat. So instead, what I think I'm going to be taking is the Evolved hat, which is from the Evolved Supply Company, run by Darwin, who is a very famous backpacker and starting his own brand of backpacking gear. And that is a hat that I'm currently wearing. I think it's called a 5-panel hat because it's stitched together in 5 panels, and it's got a very wide brim hat here for sun protection and rain. And I think that's probably the hat I'm going to go with. But for a lot of people who know me from the Appalachian Trail, they knew me as Senpai, which is a trail name that was given to me. When you go backpacking, you're given a trail name. You don't get to decide what it is. Other people decide it for you. People were calling me Senpai before I even knew that I had gotten the name. I arrived at a shelter one night, and they're like, "Senpai's here." I said, "Who's Senpai?" And they're like, "You are!" And the reason why is because of this hat, and here's what I look like in it. So, as you can tell, kind of an Asian persuasion style hat. Now, this was designed and created in the US by Kavu, by one of the owners there, for sun protection when fishing. And this hat provides ultimate sun protection and rain protection, and everywhere I go when I backpack, I take this hat. I always get a ton of questions about it. Again, it weighs 5 ounces. It's got a foam core insert, so it's a little meshy. You can move it around if I need to. It's got a sweatband across the top here, so I never have any sweat going on in my face. It's got a mesh interior, so if you could tell there, so when there is a breeze, I still get a breeze going across the top of my head. Wind, this little catcher keeps it, so sometimes you can feel it wants to go away, but it won't. I've taken this into the sun prairies and been fully and completely safe from the sun. And I have taken this out in a rainstorm for 7.5 miles and been completely dry all the way up to my waist. Down to my waist, I guess. So it's like carrying an umbrella with me for every occasion, whether it be sun, rain. A lot of times I will start camp early in the morning, and I'll do what's called silk blazing. So silkworms and spiders like to spin webs across the trail, and you always hope you're not the first one on trail breaking those. But when I am, I just look down and I could cut every single silk coming across my way, and it doesn't go on my face. It was really funny. Sometimes, Joe, I know you'll love this. Sometimes I'll be walking around silk blazing, and you just see a spider start to tangle from the brim of my hat, and I just sweep it over, or I'll break it with my finger and set him down on a leaf. But you know, nothing makes you feel more like a druid than having spiders just living on your head. But this keeps them off of me, which is really important, especially if you're squeamish. But it gets really irritating when you're getting a spider web off of your face, or a silkworm, string off of your face every 5 seconds. So that's why I love this hat. But again, for Shawnee Trail, I might be going with this hat, which is 3 ounces, designed for backpacking by a backpacker. And I love this thing so much I carry it around town. And Darwin, if you happen to be watching, I've got your signature here and your Explore, Create, Inspire on the back. And thank you very much for signing that for me at Damascus during trail days. I believe that's it. I want to thank all of you for helping me for Pelotonia raise money for cancer research. This is a thank you video to all those who are donating or for those who are thinking of donating. I also want to thank Joe, who's just off camera. He runs a photography company for wedding. He does video, I believe mostly video, wedding videos, and then his wife Amanda does wedding photography. So this is a collab video with me and Joe and Amanda Dodson, and I want to thank them very much for all of their help. Couldn't have filmed this without them. If you're looking for help with an upcoming wedding, please give them a shout out or give them a call. They're located in the Dayton area and they do fantastic work. If you have any questions, feel free to ask here on YouTube or on my Facebook page, where I believe I'll have a link for this. I'll also have a link down below for Pelotonia. So whether it's $5 is all you can afford, or you want to give a larger donation of $100, $50, $25, whatever your heart can allow. I can use all the help I can get. It's been a rough year for people. I am having a lot of trouble raising funds for Pelotonia. 100% of the proceeds go to cancer research. No doctor's taking a dime of that money for anything other than research and treatment for those who have cancer. So open your heart and open your wallets, and I hope you love this video very much. Stay tuned for future videos and photos of my trip coming up. Thanks everybody. Bye.